Good evening, everyone. I think we're live. I hope we're live. Welcome to TRH, the Reconnection Hour by Mr. Perfect. I'm Terry, founder and CEO of Mr. Perfect. What is Mr. Perfect? Most of you who are watching will know by now, but if you don't, we bring men together at barbecues across the country to create communities and connection, mainly for the betterment of mental health and to reduce isolation as well. What's TRH? So TRH stands for the Reconnection Hour. It's what you're watching now. We usually chat to health professionals or people doing great things in the world of normally men's health or mental health or just in their community as well. Had some incredible people on over there, especially over the COVID period. I guess people might be a little bit more available and wanting to connect online. Did have a little bit of a break for a few weeks where we had a couple that couldn't make it, and then I was sick, and then we were back last week, and I was really pleased with the feedback we got. So welcome everyone. A little bit of a disclaimer always put in here. We don't cover anything too gory normally. I normally give you a warning if we do. So we will, or potentially will, discuss mental health and anything around that. So as I said, it's not normally too gory or triggering, but if it is, just be aware that we may discuss something. How's my week been personally? Really good. Great week. I got my Irish passport, so pretty happy about that. Came today. For those that know me well, I got my citizenship earlier this year, and now the passport. Not that I'll be going anywhere with it. So I've now got 3 citizenships and 3 passports. So pretty happy about that. My week with Mr. Perfect's been a good one. We've been battling a bit, obviously, with all this COVID stuff going on, and we've had to obviously postpone again Victorian barbecues because of what's happening. We may have to postpone more, so kind of be aware, I guess, is what I'll say, but we kind of believe we'd rather be safer than sorry. And on that note, we, off the back of a board meeting we had a couple of weeks ago, one of our new board members, Lara, who's just absolute amazing, absolute whirlwind, came into her first board meeting, and she basically thought about a lot of things on our health and safety wise and OH&S, and really got us thinking about more preventative measures for making sure everyone is safe physically, mentally, everything. So I've been doing a lot of work in the background, making sure we're training, we're actually providing training now to our barbecue hosts, which is amazing. Greg Milan, who is one of our barbecue hosts, is a men's health trainer. He's been doing that, which is, the feedback's been amazing. So we're building a great little team of barbecue hosts, and we want to upskill them and make sure you guys get the best experience at a barbecue. So I'm really pumped about that. Now, last week's TRH, I mentioned it briefly. As a bit on the fly, I was due to have a guest on. Unfortunately, they couldn't come on but at the last minute, but they will be coming on soon. But I was glad to see that people asked questions, and I was able to talk a bit about my experiences of fatherhood and answer some questions, and also then have Matt Welch on, of Australian Dad, who came on for the last half hour and blew me away with some of his insights. So I was really happy about that. I did intend to have this theme of fatherhood for the month of July. So tonight we are speaking with someone who I've had sort of, I guess, contact with over the last couple of years on and off, and has been a great support from afar and really encouraging. His name is Liam Sorrell. He's the founder of Australian Dads Network, ADN. I will let him talk more in detail about it, but essentially the ADN, their vision is to provide dads of Australia with a platform to connect with other dads and discuss all things that are relevant and required to be the best dad, man, and husband they can be. So very aligned with what we do at Mr. Perfect. So I will wait no further. Welcome, Liam. How you going, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Terry. Thanks for having me.
No, you're more than welcome. As I just mentioned, we've had sort of a, as with most people actually, work in sort of men's health and mental health and around what we do. I've had such good experiences with people supporting from afar, and supportive words when things are going good, and messages here and now and again, and emails. And it's strange that it took this to bring us sort of people together more, but I'm glad it has. So it's really good to have you on. So I briefly mentioned, obviously, ADN, Australian Dads Network. But normally, first questions I ask are for you to tell us and the audience a little bit about you personally, a little bit about your background, what you do, I guess, professionally, and I guess what led you into starting Australian Dads Network.
Yeah, cool. So I suppose firstly, I'm a dad, two boys, got a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old, and my wife Alison, we're based out of Karratha in the northwest of Australia. And yeah, originally, we've been here for about 10 years, originally from the western suburbs of Melbourne. So I suppose it seems to be a good time to not be back there at the moment, but it's I do miss the coffee. It is, yeah, and then my wife's from Canada, so we met in the northeast coast over in Airlie Beach, and back in start of 2010. So it's been backpacking for most of my life. It's been sort of as soon as I got my driver's license, I was out of home and just traveling and just getting a feel for what I wanted to do, and sort of, I was really interested in people watching and just traveling and seeing different things around the place. And so I did a number of laps around the country, up and down the centre of Australia, and just really thrived on just being a bit of a vagabond. And so, yeah, when my wife and I met, we continued to travel and ended up on the west coast over here. And it was just through friends of friends that we found some work in Karratha, and just enjoyed the environment, enjoyed the lifestyle. It was during the boom time as well, so there was some good money to be made, which was handy as well as a backpacker. And we went over to Canada for a year, and it was a bit too cold, so we came back, but came back straight out to Karratha, which was really handy. Got our jobs back, and just enjoyed being in this environment. And there's a lot of opportunities here, which was helpful for us. Spending 10 odd years sort of traveling around, you don't really get the opportunity to get a lot of qualifications under your belt. So it's a lot of there was a lot of opportunities here for just get in and get your hands dirty, and you'll get some work. So it was good. We sort of, I suppose, fast tracked to 2014, and that's when we had our first boy at the Karratha Hospital, and we went through that process, and it was I tell this story because it's really important, I suppose, to where the Dads Network came into it. But we walking out of the hospital, and my wife, essentially had this sort of bag of goodies for mum, mum's groups here and Facebook groups. You can go and connect with other mums with the same age kid as yours, and it was really well set up for mums at the time. But I didn't see anything for me. I walked out of the hospital with my son and was just like, what do I do now? And it was really confusing and strange, and I was going through that feeling of what am I supposed to be feeling? I'm obviously excited and overwhelmed, but it's that process now. Once I get home, now it's, yes, we're family, and we've now got this child, and it's amazing, but it's a bit scary as well at the same time. So I sort of just was going through, how do I get those opportunities to be able to connect with other dads. At that time, it wasn't a big community of families in town. It was still a lot of FIFO workers and a lot of people who were just very transient. So there wasn't that sort of ability to connect really easily. And I suppose there was the part of me too that was that man part, where it was like, I'm sure I've got this. I'll just figure it out as I go kind of attitude as well, which we know doesn't really tend to work 100% of the time. So I just set up my own one locally, just on Facebook. Just started a Facebook group, and I'm typically quite an introverted, shy guy, so that was a bit of a step in itself just to do that. And we started getting some guys from across the Pilbara. I originally called it Pilbara Dads Network. So we started getting guys across the Pilbara, and conversations were really good. And we started to connect really well, and caught up with some guys that were FIFO from Perth, who were just up here for work, but were missing their family back home. So they were able to share. We were able to catch up and have coffees, and just go for walks and that kind of stuff, and share experiences. And it was really a good eye opener for me to be able to have those conversations and know that I was that, I wasn't alone, and I was able to get feedback from other dads who have been through that or are going through it, which was really positive. At that time, I was in the oil and gas sector, so this was just a whole sort of new space for me. This like the community services sort of sector. I didn't realise what it was until I got approached by a community services organisation in Karratha who found the Dads Network, and they said, we don't see many dads support groups in this region, but we're interested in supporting dads. Would you be interested in being a facilitator for a dads program? And so I was just like, nah, why not? I'll just give it a try. And so I became a facilitator of this program and started communicating with dads via that as well, and parents as well. So it was a combination sort of program about just tuning into your child's emotions. So pretty sort of simple stuff, I suppose. But it was good to be able to get that recognition that what I was sort of just doing on the side was being noticed. And that was my first taste of the community services work. And then again, I suppose fast track another year or so, we had a lot of people coming in just from my experience back over on the East Coast. Had a lot of dads coming in from there. Invited a couple of ex-military members to talk in the Pilbara Dads Network, who then started bringing in their friends and stuff. So just sort of organically changed to the Australian Dads Network just by way of people seeing that it was an important part of Facebook for them, I suppose, to connect. And then, so it was by way of Australian Dads Network that, and some issues with my employer at that time, that I started to look at other opportunities. And I found a job in the community services sector and applied for it. And it was the Australian Dads Network that my CEO was like, that was the thing that we really liked about you. Wow. Just we knew that through that we get a lot of people come through, apply for jobs in these executive roles, but it's we see that you've got the head, you've got the heart for what we're trying to achieve. So it was really I suppose a nice feeling to get that reassurance as well from an organisation that says we want you to be with us because we see what you're trying to achieve. And so it was now 2 and a bit years ago that I've been with Hope Community Services, based in Karratha, managing the Pilbara and the Kimberley, seeing a lot of the issues that come from mental health, alcohol and drugs, isolation, being disconnected from resources and resources that are going to serve the individual. And so it's been a really good eye opener. It's really helped me with the Dads Network as well to be able to identify ways in which we can support dads and members, because we have men that are in the group that aren't dads either, that are just want some extra support or will be dads in the future potentially. And just trying to find it's given me a good eye opener to a few different things that is needed in the community at large, because I think Mr. Perfect's the same thing. If we can work with individuals and build them up and give them confidence and connect them with like minds and potential resources that they might need, it only helps the community as a whole. And I think that's the benefit and the real exciting part about men's health and in particular with dads, it's a really positive group of people who are involved in it, and it's really cool to see that there's no like, oh no, I'm the only one that can work with dads, and you stay away, I was here first. There's none of that. It's really empowering. Everyone's sort of supporting each other. It's really good fun.
That's amazing. I love it. There's so much in that you said. I think first and foremost, the experience of coming out of the hospital. So I never thought about that experience until last week when Matt said it, and he said same thing. He said there was all these things set up, and I think he said it, or did someone ask a question? Someone asked a question in the comments. They said, what was kind of the experience? And I started going through it, and I thought, yeah, like I had an antenatal class where they showed me literally how to put on the nappy, and it was this very, it wasn't like a demeaning thing. I wouldn't say it was that, but I had no bloody clue what I was doing, and I was getting it wrong, and I was embarrassed, and that was it. That was like my experience of putting on an nappy on a doll and how to do the swaddle. That was my experience. The only other things I had were where my wife had sent me links to things, but they were normally female slanted, more about what we could do, she could do, but also maybe what we could do as both as parents. And me, typical me, would, I was like, yeah, I'll read it later. Never read any of it. So my preparation was the same as yours. And it really astounds me to think, I don't know, actually, I haven't asked, I should really ask some of my mates who recently have children, like, what is their experience now? This was in, and I was, the private facility I was in, like, it wasn't like there wasn't a resource or we were paying for something. That astounds me. That's something surely we've got to work on. That's the first thing. The second thing, your experience as being more introverted doing it, I feel that 100%. It's ironic people say that, I set up what I have, and because I wasn't outgoing whatsoever, but I felt there was a need and I could see that others needed something like it. So more like power to you doing it on that basis as well, and just finding your way and seeing that there's a massive demand. But I guess my one of my first questions was going to be, did you just notice that, oh, okay, there wasn't any support, so you just thought, oh, this Facebook group will help, or maybe put us together? Or did you have any experiences yourself pre-dadhood with poor mental health or any other things that kind of like might have planted a seed before that then became something bigger, if you see what I mean?
Yeah. So I've always had an interest in that community feel. So part of when I was traveling around, it was I did a lot of work at music festivals and music events, and one of the things that I always thrived off and got a lot of energy from was sort of just sitting back on the outskirts and seeing at those events how people can come together and from everywhere, all walks of life, and they could look at someone on the stage or be at a sort of community event and get along and just enjoy being amongst themselves and with other people they don't even know, and sharing those really special moments. I think that was something that I really enjoyed being a part of, and I found that like music festivals are one of those really key places and so important in our society, is to have music festivals in particular, because it does, you can have someone play some music on stage and have 15,000 people dancing and singing along to it who they don't know who they are, they're arm in arm, and it's just an amazing experience. And I think that's something that it needs to continue to be encouraged once all this blows over. But that really gives me a lot of energy. And so starting up a group like this was, I suppose, part of that is, it was definitely to get some advice and support around being a dad, connect and remove that isolation that is found within the FIFO community and transient communities, and regional communities in general, and that, which is what Karratha was more so back then and not so much now. But so remove that isolation, but to build community in the small way that I can, in a way that I know that I need right now. So that was being a dad and getting support that way. The other thing, I can't recall before kids really sort of having any issues with anxiety or depression or any sort of mental health issues or illness or anything like that. I think since having kids, I've raised my sort of anxiety levels have come up a little bit for various reasons, and I think that's normal. But I did have a friend who was heavily depressed that I grew up with, traveling around. It's been a few years traveling around with him at the music festivals and stuff, and he took his own life, which was pretty devastating for me. But that is something that I have always as a big factor in what I do with the Australian Dads Network as well, is making sure that what we do is really supportive, is focused on removing isolation by connection, by having, sort of like minds, and also, the stats are out there as far as suicide rates goes in Australia, and especially with men, and it's you can put almost half of that stat down to dads as well, and so for me that connection there is really strong as well. So it's that's an important part as well, and I think that's for one of the things that the Dads Network would like to be a part of is reducing those statistics, and if we can do that just by having a Facebook group that grows into more connection locally, then that's and that can be a contributing factor to that. That's going to be a big win.
Yeah, like what you're saying basically is the work you've done. It doesn't need to be complex. I think that's what we realised a lot. To have that much impact, and we talk about the stats. Everyone talks about them. I try not to talk about them too much or put them in any of our our communications, I guess, because we don't see ourselves at that end of the scale, I guess. And I think as you would probably as well, we see ourselves the soft entry point way before that happens. Unfortunately, we as maybe a generation or a culture, I don't know, however you want to put it, have fast forwarded to that stage and then reach these things, don't realize these things are available until it is a crisis point. So I feel like we're going to take a generation. It's going to take a long time, but pulling it back to a point where we can come in at a softer entry. So exactly what you're saying, I was like nodding in my head, just going, yeah. This is exactly where I think our skills will be best served right now, especially what we're doing. I think it's incredible, mate. I've already got 1,001 questions in the comments, so I'm going to read it. I normally wait a little bit, but I'm going to read them now because I think they're quite good. I'll read a couple of the funny ones first. Almost twins, LOL. I don't know if we look alike or what we do, or if we're introverts, or maybe I think all three maybe.
We've got that 5 o'clock shadow that's lingering on a bit longer than 5.
A couple of weeks ago, definitely the hair would have been short as well. So James has got a great one. James is one of our barbecue hosts. What do you think your biggest achievement is? And I guess he means, well, I'm going to assume he means as a dad, or maybe answer that, 1 as a dad and 2 with Australian Dads Network.
I'll start with the Dads Network, and then while I'm talking about that, I can sort of try and find a highlight as a dad. I think the highlight or the biggest achievement for the Dads Network, I think, is or has been the being able to. Early on, we had a lot of issues with spamming and a lot of sort of not very genuine posts and really destructive posts as well, and comments. But one of the big achievements was getting a group of admins that were really on mission, and I mean, a fault of mine was not keeping them sort of in the loop as much as what I should have early on, but they just knew it, and they had their own sort of way of achieving what we were all trying to achieve. And as a result of their passion and their drive and their energy and the overall community that we had created, we were able to get those, not by deleting or blocking people out from doing those things, but having a conversation offline about, this is what we're trying to achieve. We really appreciate that you've got a few, you can sell some things to these guys, but we're trying to achieve a community that we can all learn from each other. And so that was conversations that were ongoing for a little while. And I reckon probably the last, 6 to 8 months, I don't think we've seen any of that stuff come through that has not been either gone through the admins first and say, hey, do you mind if I post this thing that I've got going on? I think it will help. Or just communicating with us first. And what it's done is it's so there's a lot of professionals, a lot of coaches, and people that have got a wealth of knowledge that is really productive as well. They're sharing it in the group, and everyone is benefiting. So I think that's one of the big achievements of spending time and negotiating sort of with people, as opposed to just going, that doesn't fit, get out. It's like, this is what we're trying to achieve. Do you want to come with us? Or if not, then you find somewhere else, I suppose. But everyone that we've done that to has stuck through and really appreciates it. And some of those guys that we talk to have now, they're buying t-shirts off us and wearing them around proudly and stuff. It's really cool to see. I think there's a number of Australian Dads Network ones actually that are just coming to mind as I'm talking about those. But I think as a dad, there's so many. I think if I could just do it broadly, I suppose the big achievement, I suppose, is being able to provide a safe place, a roof, food, just those simple things. I think that's probably just off the cuff is just something that I'm happy about. Like I said, I spent a lot of time traveling around. I don't have those qualifications. I didn't do much at high school. I didn't spend much time at all at any universities or anything like that. I've just had to sort of go into jobs with confidence and just be the best employee that I can be. And it's just so happened that I've been able to fall into some jobs and some good jobs. And it's, I think, being able to provide my kids with a really safe place and to loving parents and a good environment to be growing up in. Karratha is amazing to grow up in for kids. I reckon just there's so many opportunities as far as the environment is concerned, especially for my young boys to get out and just go anywhere. That's really good. And I think to put that into context, is my day job is managing programs, but it's working with those really vulnerable kids and youth at risk and disengaged youth, and seeing where those kids are growing up and some of the issues that they are facing in their lives already at a really young age just makes me really grateful for what I've been able to provide for my kids. So I suppose that's probably something. They do some really awesome stuff every day as well, which are really, they're really achieving really well as kids. So that's good fun, but that's probably a whole other conversation.
I love that. That's another great answer. You must be just reading my mind, because it's exactly what I was asking myself the other day in one of my ruminations in my head. I think I was like washing up or something, and I was going to myself, so I get so anxious sometimes about what I might be doing at work, or the next paycheck or whatever's going on, and just get lost in it when I know what really is important. I do know, like, I'm very grateful to know what is really important now. And then I get home and like the boys run at you and you go and play with them for an hour, and tonight wrestling them and playing rugby and chasing them, doing all sorts of stuff. And it hit me like straight in the face. So I'm sat there, and the words like safety immediately come to mind. You mentioned Karratha earlier is where you are. And I think I mentioned offline, like in my day job, we send a lot of doctors out that way, and they see a lot of things, and they obviously travel quite a lot, and they see the world in a different way, and they get to see the good, the bad of the world, and children who don't have, unfortunately, who don't even have a fraction of what our children will have, i.e. a warm house, like food when they get home, parents that are there, like simply there, at least one of them around, and being able to play with them and to do those things, and they're healthy and mentally healthy and physical. You could tick off a number of things, 100 things there that they might not. Very lucky we have a good chunk of those, and I just really focus on those things now. Like, if I can do those simple things right and make sure I'm healthy for them, so I'm in a good space to spend time with them and pass on everything I need to them, then man, like, you're doing a bloody excellent job. Forget their fancy cars and the fancy house and that stuff. Like, it's so irrelevant. Like, it's so irrelevant. So I love that.
Basic needs, isn't it? And those basic needs is, and that gives the kids an opportunity to grow and do the things that excite them, and giving them that space to do that. Basic needs, and that obviously includes love as well as food and shelter.
I think those basic needs, is how I've worked it out in my head, obviously lead to a good outcome, or should lead to a good outcome, touch wood, in the end, like the long run, right? It's a long game. It's not be good, great to your kids now and pamper them and like spoil them, and then they're going to, it's a very long, gradual process of bringing these kids up and making sure you do the best thing by them. So yeah, I love that. There was another good question here from Josh Quamby of Blokopedia, who I think you'll know. He's about to be a dad for the first time in December, and he said, what are your top tips to looking after ourselves and also being the best partner?
Yeah, these are I think important, very important parts of it, because I mean, it's so easy. I suppose the first one is looking after yourself. It's one of the easiest things to overlook for both mum and dad, because you're so invested in this child that you've just brought into the world, and you've got so much energy put into making sure that they're comfortable and they're safe and they're healthy, and there's so much mental strain that goes on with that as well. Am I doing this the right way, or am I supposed to do it this way? Are they supposed to make that noise? All those things that run through your head, especially early on. But I think that which might combine both of these is I mean, self-care is massive. Even when your kids are old and moved out, I think is still important. Looking after your own mental, physical, emotional self is really, really important. So if you've got hobbies, if you've got if you go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week now, if you play footy with your mates, whatever that kind of thing is that you're doing now, figure out a way that you can at least do that some of the week still once you have once your child is born. I think that's a really good start, because one, you're going to, if you're doing group activities with mates or whatever it might be already, and if you can keep that going, even if it's half the time or a third of the time, whatever it might be, obviously your time's going to be drawn back home a bit more. You're still going to keep that connection with those guys, and you're also going to, if it's a physical activity as well, you're going to burn some energy. You're going to stay you're going to stay positive in your body, and you're going to all those things are really important. If you're not doing group activities or group sports, that's when you might want to start looking at keeping up with the gym. Keep that membership so that you can keep going. Your skin in the game. So you want to keep going and be active as much as you can. But with the with your partner, I think that kind of conversation around that for both of you guys is really important early on as well, because if you don't have that communication and understanding that both of us need to have that opportunity to be able to get out, have a breather, have some space, have some me time, go to the coffee shop and have a coffee with your mates, or her girlfriends, get together and just connect again without bub nearby. Those are the kind of things that I think are important to do, and I think having that communication early on is really important. My firstborn, he had silent reflux, but we didn't know about it for 5-6 months, and so my wife and I, we didn't tag team very well at that time, because we both I wanted to support her through the process, and she wanted to do her best, and it was just working through it. But we were on the same sleeping schedule, which was bugger all, really, and we both really struggled with that. And in hindsight, I think one of the things that we may have been able to implement is to be able to structure it a bit better. You go and get some sleep now, and I'll stay up and do the feeding and that kind of stuff. But we just didn't know. It was our first kid, and so communication, I think, is key for both of you guys. And I don't know, if your partner likes foot rubs or something, then maybe throw them in every evening. That's probably not going to hurt.
That's I don't know. You definitely reading my mind tonight, because I was thinking about the answer I would have for that as well, and absolutely, like the self-care part, although it might not looked it physically, I let go almost the day Finn was born. Yes, still did go out with a couple of my mates now and again, but didn't really have a regular, consistent outlet. I had football, but even I let that go. Like I'd play for half a season, then I didn't, and then I went back to it, and then the games were too far away, so it was a little bit stressful leaving the house for too long, and then I couldn't relax after the game and have a beer with everyone because I needed to get back because the baby Vim was causing mayhem, and that played on. I could never really relax properly, and I think when we had the second, we tinkered with that a little bit, so like made it better. So we got there, but on the relationship side. Again, communication, like that's I don't know how it's obviously you want to make it more over complex to say, yeah, like there's this real big answer to how you make it work with relationships, but I guarantee you've got to be expecting that there's going to be a shift. Like I think there will be a shift in some respects in your relationship. Like of course it's never going to be the same, but it can be better. Like it's a whole different thing. I don't know how to exactly describe that, but I know with my wife, we went through all sorts of periods where I thought, and didn't help at the time when I was anxious and was not, challenged mentally. I was thinking, yeah, we're going to get a divorce. Like this is going to be the end of us, and go on that rumination phase when actually it was making us stronger in the long run. I knew it was, and now like we're in a incredible place. I wouldn't say like the best place in the world, like that where I want to be, but I'm very honest about it. We're in a much better place because we found a groove, a lot more respect for each other's efforts that we both put in, and we try and vocalize it a lot more. So before it was like, don't notice the good stuff, but pick up on those tiny crappy little things you do when you're tired and you just, lash out or whatever. Whereas now we're a lot better at it. Like she's better than I am, but we're a lot better at picking up on those points. So that's, I think that's key. It's different. All I could say is it's different. It can be good. It can be amazing in a whole another way. And I even text my wife today, like, not normally that mushy, but I was like, things are going great. I love our little family at the moment. It's going incredible. And to have that gratitude, which is not, I am a grateful person, but I'm normally, I don't say that enough to my wife, that's for sure. So it's brilliant. But a couple of other great questions we had. This is just more of a comment, I think. Facebook user. So this only happens when I think I have to accept the anonymous thing on StreamYard link. But anyway, you're both great ambassadors for dads and their emotional well-being. Boys do not naturally turn into good fathers without good father figures, and what you guys do helps break the cycle. Love that. I don't think I really need to comment on that. There was another one, Matt from Australian Dad, who was on last week, had a really good one. I think this would be a good one for you. How has ADN and your work shaped your role as a dad?
That's. I mean, it's a similar answer to, I suppose, to the one about the achievement about providing a safe place and that for my kids. It's, I suppose, a very when you see some of the comments that come through and the posts that come through, and some of the guys are in a real spot of need and desperation, and it's, and I suppose it's for a lot of guys, it's that the ability to be able to comment or post, although they've got a public profile on Facebook, and it's not hidden. They know that the place is safe inside the group, and private and secure, but having that ability to be able to just tap away on the keyboard how I'm feeling and post that, it gives a lot of guys confidence to be able to ask some of the hard-hitting questions and some of the real struggles and frustrations that they've got. So I suppose seeing those on that end of the scale, and then also seeing the real positive stuff that comes out of it, and the guys that are doing really well mentally and physically, and showing that as well. It's a really good balance of where I am at the moment. I can be happy to share that, and I can be happy that although the post before was really heartbreaking to see, I'm allowed to feel happy about myself in where I am at the moment. And you just shared it there with, you're feeling really good with your family right now. You should share that with everybody and be happy about that, because it's really important to lift yourself up and feel happy. But I think for me that how both of those sort of ends of the spectrum and everything in between has sort of helped me as a dad, has given me more perspective, given me an ability to be able to understand, I suppose, that it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies every day. You know, it's there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs, and seeing that through the Dads Network has enabled me to be a bit more prepared, a bit more resilient, a bit more trusting in just life's process as it comes along. But and I suppose in saying that, like the process is, I'm involved in that process. It's me. It's not happening to me. I'm being it. I am living my life, and I'm choosing how I act and react, and I'm in charge of myself being able to learn more and to be able to read and to be able to engage and be involved in conversations with other dads, other people in the community, my family, that kind of stuff. It's being a part of the Australian Dads Network has given me that sort of perspective on just life in general. It's really a really rewarding part of it.
Yeah, I can echo that as well with the work of Mr. Perfect. The ability to look now from the high level. I was always analytical anyway, but probably analytical in a negative way more so than turning it for the positive good. Whereas now I'm very thoughtful, so I look over it now and go, wow, like some of the guys that come to us for support, and you'd experience as well. It's not a case of comparing, but it's a case of sitting back and going, if I really truly looked at what I've got right now and I ticked a few of those boxes to say, man, I'm safe, and I've got family, and I'm healthy, touch wood, or as good as I can be at this moment. And then being aware that that's quite a privileged position to be in, whether it's for your own, whether it's you're doing or not. And when you're not taking some accountability for it, I think that's given me, instead of blaming, because I used to go straight to it's everyone else's fault. It's my upbringing's fault. It's this. It's my dad's. It's bam, 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 bam. When there were a lot of choices, that I made since a teenager that have affected where I've ended up now. And I just, I think perspective, definitely some accountability, without a doubt. But it's interesting you mentioned about the Facebook group. So we'll definitely have to chat about this offline, because you had a similar experience to us, and there'll be people watching this now in our Facebook community. We set it up with the best intention and to support, right, to do that. And we didn't really know what we were doing when we set up. And as a charity as well now, and everything that we have, and really good governance behind us in the background, and it's getting better all the time. Like, we're just tweaking it and making it safer and safer and safer. But we had the same. We had posts that were truly crisis posts, which concerned me, and I panicked and didn't know what to do. We had some real negativity. I mean, had some hateful stuff, which is not nice to read, but I had to come at it from a point. I've come at a better point now, kind of 9 months into having the community running, or maybe 9 months, maybe a little bit longer than that, maybe almost a year, that you've really got to take a step back and go, what frame of mind are they in right now, and have that empathy to go, that's hard. Like, that's really hard, but they're not in a good place, hence why they are writing that. It's not because they're evil or they hate us, or like, you have to really, really understand that and get a real level of calm about it. And I think I've got better at that. I'm sure you have, like the learnings you've learned from seeing that. And the flip side, I always want people to share. I'm very keen about that. I think that's a really healthy thing to share. We do advise people, we're not, a crisis service, but the flip side, some of the posts now, and I'm sure you've experienced, of people posting things that are examples of connection, just unbelievable, like so good. And not like, it doesn't, not even a cheesy way, like it doesn't make me go, oh, warm and fluffy. It's just, they feel comfortable to do that. They're celebrating when they're feeling good. It doesn't mean tomorrow they're not going to be, they're going to have those times, but at least they're living in that moment a bit more, which just reflects on me again, and rolls back to me. And I go, yeah, I need to, in those moments, reflect on them, be really grateful and thankful my children are just healthy and just they have love there. Like, that's massive for me. But it kind of leads on, I guess, to my question for you was, any great examples, I guess, of connection or any like real things that stand out that the ADN has brought to dads? Is there any particular stories or moments you go, oh wow, like you knew you were making an impact?
You mean outside of the Australian Dads Networks, outside of the group?
Yeah, I was thinking more inside the group. Like, is there a moment where you were doing it? I probably framed it not as clear, but is there a moment where it got to a point, maybe a year in or however long, where you went, wow, that will really make an impact there? And when was it, I guess? Was there a particular example, or was it kind of just gradually built a nice momentum?
Well, I think a couple of things. I think the clear big one, I suppose, for me that sort of proved that what we were doing was working was when guys started asking for like merchandise, and like when can we get t-shirts and when can we get hats, and for me and for them it's probably, I don't know what it was for them, but for me it was really like just that sit back and go, whoa, this has now like become so important to people that they're willing to put this t-shirt and wear this logo on their back. And the same for you guys. It's just that it was really just sort of went, oh, that's pretty cool. That this Facebook group has impacted these guys enough that they want to walk around wearing that t-shirt or whatever on their body, and that's that was really a pretty special moment to have that. I think, and it happens. I suppose it happens. Every week or two, there's one real important post that comes through. They're all really important, but there's ones that stand out where you might get a bunch of guys immediately comment, and it's really there's those posts that are probably pretty hard hitting, or guys that are really struggling and really need some support, and they get a ton of support and a ton of resources thrown at them, and guys connecting offline, and it's when they reply back and say, fellas, that was awesome, I really needed that. I didn't expect that. I was really scared to post in here, but I'm glad I did. It's just changed. It's changed everything for me. I've got a new insight and that kind of stuff. It's those posts are really special, because you can post anything on these in these groups, and you don't get as much sort of commentary on the photos of me and my kids at the beach or something. They'll get a few likes and a few comments and stuff, looks really good or whatever. But when someone posts, I'm really struggling, then everybody comes out. And, we've got almost 1,700 members in the group now. It's probably 1,700 today, actually. We're only a few away this morning. But what's interesting when you go into the analytics of the group that Facebook provides, there's almost 1,500 active members in the group. So it's, they're liking, they're commenting, they're opening the videos and they're watching them. That to me is really a good sign as well. That there's not 1,400 guys commenting on every post or posting every day, but just to know that they're there and they're amongst us and they're checking in, and when they're ready, they'll come and engage. So that's a good part of it.
That's brilliant. And what's the next steps? Because I guess we talked very briefly over Facebook Messenger about what you might be doing with ADN now, but where do you want it to be, I guess? So next steps for it, how can you make more impact, really? And where do you want to see it go?
The first thing is we've got this great idea of running barbecues across the country. No one's doing it yet. Cut. No, I think we just and thanks for your guidance and advice. Via Messenger is so we just this week got set up as an incorporated association over in WA. So we're going to start sort of over here first and get that process and get a feel for what it's like to do that process of grants and whatnot, to be able to do just some localized stuff here in WA. I think that's we've got a big crew down in Perth, so we'll be able to do some small gatherings and events and things like that down there, as well as obviously in Karratha and Headland. We'll be able to do some stuff up here as well. So that's a start. Obviously, with Australia-wide crew, so we'll be looking to move that beyond just WA and take it national. So we'll be able to do similar things. It is really just purely about connection, providing sort of that space that we do inside the group, but do that face to face as well in various means. It's still a work in progress. Obviously, taking it from something online to face to face is going to be something completely different. And we do it, but it's not something that we've been able to sort of do on a bigger scale. So that's what we're looking to do. But I think long term, ideally there would be an ability to, like I said earlier, impact the data that is currently around on men's mental health. That would be if we could contribute towards some of those reductions in the negative stats, I think that would be a really big plus. If we can develop a timeline of when a dad enters a community like our Facebook group, if we can assess what that dad is like at that stage, mentally, physically, emotionally, and then do a bit of a study long term over the course of 12 months or something like that, and then see where he is over that time, just scale it out, and just to prove that those not that Facebook groups work to improve mental health, physical health, but to prove that connection does, and to prove that relationships and those positive role models and associations with people that are there to that they've got your back and they're there to support you. That overall community environment, I think if we can prove that works in each little pocket, then that would be a big plus for us to achieve as well. There's little ideas that we're going to roll out as well. Starting in the Pilbara, we'll look to do little dads packs as well. So I know there's some people on the East Coast that are doing them. So we'll look to see if we can contribute towards that as well. So when dads do end up leaving the hospital with their newborn, they might be able to walk out with their own pack, and if we can sort of help towards that too, then we will. But I mean, the country's our oyster, so we'll be guided by the members in the group. If they see something that we can contribute towards, then we'll have a look at it.
No, I love that. With the product being, I talk about this for the barbecues, but I think about it like the product is not the barbecue or the thing we're doing there. It's the connection that's provided and what might come out of that long term. So if you actually think about that as a product, that's endless, right? There isn't like a barrier where you go, oh, I can only provide it to this point. So that's the great thing. That's the optimistic thing for me, is there's never going to be an end to this work, right? It's priceless. It's so valuable. It needs to be done by a lot of people. There's a lot of groups and things out there now that are doing a lot more, but clearly, one, I think it's a bit of a marketing problem. We don't have the budgets to tell the whole of the country about what we're doing. So if we did overnight, then I'm sure you'd see a big uptick immediately in sort of our impact, at least people sort of looking at what we're both doing. But yeah, there's no end to it, which is amazing. So I think it's incredible. I guess next steps will be navigating that process and the incorporate association thing, which is great. It's a tick box. It's so good to have it. It makes it more legitimate. That's what we had to do to start applying for things, and you just see this gradual increase, and before you know it, you look back in a couple of years and go, wow, like that was one hell of a ride. So I hope you guys go far. And the packs thing I'm so interested in, because I just never thought about it until it's been brought up twice now in the last 2 weeks. So if ever we can help with that, I don't know how, or I can, I'd love to. So we'll have to speak about that separately. But I'd love to yeah, I'd love you to tell people how they can find out about Australian Dads Network, be it the Facebook page or the website. Yeah, let the guys know.
Yeah, so our website, australiandadsnetwork.com.au, that has links to the Facebook group as well, so you can jump in there. It has a bit more info around what we do. It's constantly evolving website, as I find an hour here and there. Yeah, obviously Facebook. So there's a Facebook page that anyone can like and sort of follow on. Again, it's one of those things that when I find enough time to be able to post on it, I will. So be patient. The Facebook group is, you can type in Australian Dads Network in your search for groups as well, and you'll find it. But it does come up as ADN, Dads Only Yarn Barn. So we had the Australian Dads Network public page and the private group were originally the same name, but it was a bit confusing. Guys were posting some pretty heavy stuff on the public page, which was not really going to be beneficial. So we changed it. So if you see ADN, Dad's Only Yarn Barn, that's us, and that's your private group. So jump in and say good day.
That's excellent, mate. I will make sure I share that in the comments afterwards for everyone, the website and the Facebook link as well. As I said, like in summary, the work you're doing is just incredible, mate. And I like the way you've gone about it. And it's been, I guess, similar to what we've done. Gradual process, seeing that need, being really thoughtful about it, not going too sort of gung-ho in there thinking we can save the world, but once noticing there's a little thread to pull on, it truly is endless. So yeah, I hope you get the help and assistance, and we'll do the best we can to support it as well. And look, really appreciate you coming on. I'm sure there would have been 1,000 more questions we could have asked as well. But again, hopefully in a few months' time, we'll circle back and we'll chat again and find out where you're at.
Love to do that, Terry. Appreciate you getting me on.
No, you're more than welcome, mate. Take care, buddy. As I said, guys, I will put the comments in so you can find out more about the Australian Dads Network. And thanks again to Liam. And thank you for watching. I'll see you guys. See you, buddy.
See ya.